Life was never kind to Emily. Her father, a decorated soldier, died heroically overseas when she was just a child. Her mother, Martha, raised Emily alone, struggling to provide. But Martha's health was frail, her chronic illnesses often forcing her onto long sick leaves. Eventually, employers tired of her constant absences and let her go. After yet another resignation, Martha would lock herself in her room, into her pillow, crushed by helplessness. Money was always short. Often dinner was nothing more than bread dipped in salted oil or plain pasta. At school, Emily's clothes were worse than anyone's. Children can be cruel, and they noticed. Emily became an outcast. Her patched sweaters were a running joke. She learned to live with the giggles and whispers behind her back. When Emily turned 14, tragedy struck again. Martha passed away. Emily's aunt, Deborah, took her in, not out of kindness, but obligation. Life didn't improve there. Deborah constantly called Emily a freeloader and lazy, though she herself avoided both work and house chores. Realizing Emily was old enough, Deborah dumped all the housework on her and even sent her to buy cheap wine from a nearby store where the clerk, Deborah's best friend, would give it on credit. Deborah loved her evening glass of red. When money ran out, she'd shamelessly borrow from neighbors or sip questionable homebrew. At month's end, after debts were repaid, she and Emily would again be left dipping bread in oil. Tipsy, Deborah would harp on the same theme. When will you get married and stop being a burden? It often made Emily cry. Deborah's friend from the liquor store had a son named Peter, and Deborah was keen on pushing Emily towards him. She fantasized. If Emily married the shop owner's son, they could get free groceries forever, and perhaps never repay the debts. But Emily, now 18, suddenly resisted. "I'm not solving your financial mess, Aunt Deborah," she shouted one evening, slamming the door behind her. The next day, she packed her meager belongings, grabbed a secret jar of coins she'd been saving since childhood, and left. Emily rented a tiny room from a kind old landlady. Her savings paid for the first month and some food. With her mother gone, her father's military medals were her only treasure. She kept them close, believing they protected her. One afternoon in a grocery store, Emily picked up a free local newspaper filled with job ads. Most required experience or education she didn't have. Desperate, she dialed a number looking for a cleaner. What else could she do? That same week she started. Her first day was rough. The office had been without a cleaner for 3 days. Signing her contract, she grabbed a mop and began scrubbing floors. In one room, packed with computers and office workers, she was startled by a sharp voice. "What is that smell?" A stunning yet cold-looking young woman stood over her. Dark brows arched over narrow eyes, hair cascading over perfect cheekbones. Her beauty was almost villainous. "Do you not smell your disgusting mop? Go rinse it properly. Now!" Emily obeyed. As she passed two young men, they whispered about her figure, comparing her to Cinderella. Emily blushed. She was indeed pretty, with large gray eyes, soft lips, and light hair tied back simply. Her cheap clothes couldn't hide her delicate waist and graceful curves. But behind her, the woman, Marissa, was already gossiping, dissecting Emily's poor wardrobe piece by piece. Emily longed to snap her mop over her knee and tell them off, but she needed the money too badly. Every day felt like poison. Marissa rallied coworkers against Emily. Even the managers began to eye her coldly. Only one person seemed kind, the same young man who'd once called her Cinderella. His name was Jason. One evening, he waited outside to walk Emily to a cafe. They laughed and talked like old friends, but the next day, a colleague hissed, "You idiot! Jason's Marissa's fiancé. She'll destroy you if she finds out." Emily's stomach dropped. And sure enough, the very next morning when she entered Marissa's department, the speakers blasted a mocking song. "Hello there, thrift shop girl." Marissa, poker-faced, asked loudly where she could buy a vintage top like Emily's, pointing to her threadbare sweater. Others chuckled at her shoes, joking they were rare medieval torture boots. Humiliated, Emily could only keep scrubbing. Later, Jason avoided her eyes. The shame ate at him, but he was too weak to stand up to Marissa. Clinging to his cushy office job and hoping for promotion, he laughed along with everyone else. betraying Emily and any feelings he once had. Marissa, flush with triumph, left Emily alone after publicly crushing her. Emily wanted to quit, but when she tried, HR pointed out her contract. If she left early, she'd lose her entire month's wages. She couldn't afford that. She had her little kitten to feed now, too, a tiny stray she'd rescued outside the office, naming him Martin. They split even her last carton of milk. Emily's first payday finally arrived. Coincidentally, that was also when the head of the company, Mr. Carter, a stern, impeccably groomed former military man, came to inspect the branch. Everyone feared him except Marissa, who was rumored to be close to him, leveraging her sharp wit and striking looks. While showing Mr. Carter around, Marissa accidentally knocked over a coffee, kicking the cup under her desk, then pointed at the stain. "See how our cleaner ignores my workspace? I work in filth, thanks to her." Mr. Carter frowned. Later, he summoned Emily. "Stern, why is your work so poor?" Emily, red-faced, blurted out, "It's not. Marissa's lying. She's always finding ways to get me fired. Please, sir, she probably spilled that herself." The CEO studied her closely, thoughtful. "What's your last name again?" Emily answered, and he stiffened, surprised. "Your father? Was he Captain Blake, deployed in the Middle East?" Emily nodded, eyes widening, gruffly. "He saved my life," Mr. Carter said gruffly. "Whew. Pulled me out under fire. I owe him everything." There was a long silence. Then he spoke again, voice firm, determined. "Enough of Marissa's petty tyranny. Tomorrow we'll hire a new cleaner. You, Miss Blake, will start training in our client services department. You'll also begin university, on our scholarship. Your father didn't give his life so his daughter could scrub floors." Emily's heart raced. That night she ran home, Martin trailing at her feet, barely feeling the ground. She even splurged on a toy mouse and fancy pâté for her kitten. The next morning, Marissa arrived to find an older woman mopping the floors. HR handed Emily a new contract, customer relations. Her first day, Mr. Carter himself called her in, pressing a set of apartment keys into her hand. Softly, "This was meant for my future family, but life's odd that way. I want you to live there. It's yours, rent-free. Bring your kitten. No daughter of Captain Blake will bounce between shabby rentals on my watch." Emily wept, clutching the keys. That evening, she tearfully thanked her elderly landlady, packed up Martin, and moved into a spacious three-bedroom apartment. She bought bright dresses, a sleek phone, even a tower of scratching posts for Martin. Meanwhile, Jason tried to rekindle things, but Emily only laughed. The man who once sneered alongside Marissa now found himself single, as Marissa had moved on to cozy up to the boss's wealthy son. Emily felt only a faint, cold amusement. Months passed. Emily excelled at her new role. Mr. Carter mentored her personally, seeing in her the same steady courage as her father. He even insisted she study business, promising one day she'd help run the entire network of offices and stores. One afternoon, Emily was buying gourmet treats for Martin when she knocked a can off a shelf. A tall, bright-eyed young man snatched it midair. Amazed. "Nice catch," Emily breathed. Grinning, "You pick good food, don't skimp on your cat, huh?" He grinned, reading her label. "I try, he's family." "Mine too. I've got a big Savannah cat. Yours?" Joking. "Purebred, noble alley cat." She joked. He burst out. "I'm Archie. Yours?" "Emily." Minutes turned into hours. Archie's warmth, his fearless kindness, reminded Emily of how love stories always described finding your person. They strolled until dark. Archie confessed he didn't want to leave, but said, smiling, "I suppose manners demand it, at least tonight." Emily floated upstairs, heart racing. Was this real? Was he? She barely slept, replaying every smile. Next morning, she stepped outside, and there he was, grinning sheepishly. I couldn't stay away. Just fed my cat and came right back. Stared at your window all night. I know it sounds mad, but it's fate, isn't it? You're mine. I'm yours. End of story. Emily's laughter turned into happy tears as he pulled her close. Even Martin seemed to approve when Archie visited that evening, curling up between them as if he'd always belonged.